into, and I post true crime and chit chat videos twice a week and occasionally post vlogs and fashion related content as well. So if that's the type of content you're into, make sure to hit that bell button so that you stay notified every time I post. So today we're actually going to be talking about the mysterious case of Lauren Smith Fields, who was found unresponsive during a Bumble date. Now I just want to start off by mentioning that this is a very recent case that remains unsolved. However, I wanted to speak about it because I feel like there is a lack of media coverage surrounding it, and I also think the investigation was pretty shady on the most part, which we will be talking about more later on in the video. But for now, let's talk about Lauren Smith Fields herself and who she was. Okay, so Lauren Quinique Smith Fields was born on January 23rd, 1998 in Bridgeport, Connecticut. She grew up in a household with her mother Chantel Fields and her father Everett Smith, along with her two older brothers, Tavar Gray Smith and Lakeem Jeter. Now, in terms of Lauren's relationship with her family, it is said that her family was very close-knit and that they supported Lauren in all her decisions. Lauren was described to be very kind, funny, ambitious, creative, and athletic. When she was in high school, she attended Stamford High School in Connecticut, and she was actually a track star while she was there. However, after graduating, Lauren ends up attending Norwalk Community College with hopes of one day becoming a physical therapist. While attending college, Lauren also begins to post on various social media platforms including YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, and she begins to gain a following on these platforms. On her YouTube channel, there was a variety of different videos including vlog style videos, wig install videos, and occasional story times. Her channel has since been taken down ever since her death. However, in the content she had posted, and if you do get a glimpse of it through other channels, you would be able to tell that she always looked healthy and very beautiful. Now, at 23 years old, Lauren Quinique Smith Fields decides to join an online dating platform called Bumble. Okay, so Bumble is an app which was actually started by one of Tinder's founders who wanted to make a more women-friendly app. So in the app itself, there are 3 different categories you can go into, including Bumble Date, Bumble BFF, and Bumble Biz. So Bumble itself isn't solely used just for dating. However, in the case of Lauren Smith Fields, this was a category she was utilizing. Now, to expand a bit more on how Bumble Date actually works, it's basically like a lot of the other dating apps where you either swipe left or right depending on if you're interested in the person. So when 2 individuals match, it basically tells you you've matched. However, unlike some other dating apps, in Bumble, the girl has to message first. So if you're a guy and you've matched with a girl, you actually can't message her unless she messaged you first. And if you're a girl and you've matched with someone, you actually have to work in a timely manner because these matches expire in 24 hours within matching. So if you don't message them, then you can't message them after that 24 hours unless one of you extends the time, which I believe you can extend it for another 24 hours. This being said, Bumble is an app which aims to empower its users and diminish old gender norms by allowing women to make the first move. So it is actually through this app that Lauren ends up meeting an older man named Matthew Lafontaine. Okay, so there actually wasn't a lot of information I could actually find about Matthew Lafontaine's personal life, as his name wasn't really made too public for a while during this case. However, from what I was able to find, he was a 37-year-old Caucasian man who worked as a design engineer at Times Microwave System in Wallingford, Connecticut. So after Lauren and Matthew had connected on Bumble and spoken for about 3 days, on December 11th, 2021, they decide that they are going to meet up in real life for a date at Lauren's apartment. So in the report, it is said that they began the evening by just kind of vibing and getting to know each other while taking tequila shots. And at one point in the evening, Lauren ends up getting really sick, so she ends up going to the bathroom to throw up, and this ends up helping a lot because she ends up recovering. So then Lauren and Matthew continue to go about their date, and they just end up playing games, having dinner, and watching a movie. Now, one thing to note is that Lauren had allegedly gone to the bathroom for about 10 to 15 minutes before returning to the couch to continue watching the movie, where she ends up falling asleep. So then Matthew decides to carry Lauren to her bed, and then he proceeds to lay next to her and also falls asleep. And then around 3 a.m. it is said that Matthew wakes up and he hears Lauren snoring. He goes to the bathroom and then he comes back and falls back asleep. But then at 6:30 a.m., Matthew wakes up again, and this time he notices that something seems off with Lauren. He notices that she is now lying on her side with blood coming out of her right nostril, and she is also not breathing. So then he decides to call 911 to get first responders to come to the apartment. So then investigators and first responders end up showing up, and Lauren is pronounced dead at 6:49. However, it is said that it appears Lauren had been dead for at least an hour prior to that time of death. So then in conversation with Matthew and the officials, Matthew had actually claimed that Lauren had asked him for $40 earlier that day to go get her nails done, and he had said that she told him to come over to her apartment afterwards. Another claim he actually made was that he never had sex with her and that he remained fully clothed and only laid next to her to basically sleep. Okay, so from these events, you would assume that Lauren's family would have been notified by either the authorities or the hospital. However, no one even tried to contact the family. But like I said, Lauren was from a close-knit family, so that Sunday, a lot of the members of her family were trying to get in contact with her and trying to call her just to catch up. However, all attempts made were unsuccessful. So then after not being able to get a hold of Lauren or hearing from her at all, one of her family members actually ends up going to her apartment to check up on her, and this is when they find a note on her door that says, "If you're looking for Lauren, call this number." And this note was actually left by the landlord. So then Lauren's family ends up getting in contact with the landlord along with officials, and this is when they are notified of Lauren's sudden death. Her family claimed that it was after they reached out to the detective that he had confirmed that Lauren had passed away and that she had met a man through the dating app Bumble. Now things get kind of shady because although Matthew was the last to see Lauren alive and literally spend the night with her until she became unresponsive and ultimately passed away, the Bridgeport police actually didn't take him in for questioning or even arrest him at all, and they claimed that it was because he seemed like a nice guy. And Lauren's family actually found it kind of weird because whenever they would ask the detective about Matthew himself, it kind of felt like he was sticking up for Matthew. So then the coroner's initial report on the physical evidence came out, and the report basically determined that there was no foul play involved. Now, Lauren's family just wanted answers at this point as to what happened to her, but they actually didn't hear back from police for 16 days after they had initially spoken on December 13th, 2021. And the family attorney alleges that the first detective who was on the case, Kevin Cronin, had disregarded basic protocol by not notifying Lauren's family of her death when he first responded to the case. So then Lauren's family ends up going to Lauren's apartment to begin to move things out. However, while they are there, a new detective shows up. Now, one thing to note is that the family was never notified that there was a new detective on the case or that this new detective would show up on the scene that day. So then this new detective goes on to tell Lauren's family that the other detective didn't know what he was doing and that he basically messed up the case. And it is also at this time that CSI ends up coming to Lauren's apartment for the first time in this entire case, and Lauren's family ends up giving them some important belongings as well as some evidence they had found in her apartment. Some of these items included a bloody sheet, a pill, 2 drinks next to a bottle, and a condom that was still filled with semen. As well, there was a big circle of blood on Lauren's bed with streaks going to the right side. One of the most astonishing things about this case is that prior to this point, none of these items had been taken in for evidence nor retrieved, and the Bridgeport police had actually only taken her phone, her passport, and $13,000 in cash as evidence when they were initially on the scene. So then on January 21st, the family attorney ends up putting out a statement with intent to sue the Bridgeport police for negligence. And coincidentally, just one day after the statement was released, Lauren's autopsy was also released. So Lauren's autopsy had claimed that she had died of an overdose due to acute intoxication caused by the combined effects of fentanyl, promethazine, hydroxide, and alcohol. Lauren's death had ultimately been claimed to have been an accident. However, Lauren's family as well as their attorney are very sure that Lauren did not do drugs and that she very rarely drank alcohol. And their attorney even went on to say that it is not a question on what toxins are in Lauren's body, but how they got there. And one more thing to note is that Matthew had actually never reached out to Lauren's family after her death. And when authorities wanted a DNA sample, I believe he decided to lawyer up. Now, I just wanted to go into some things I found shady about this case and what made me really question the true intent on the authorities during the whole investigation of this case. So, this is basically just going to be my thoughts on the entire situation. So, firstly, when it comes to evidence, I think this was handled so poorly and unprofessionally. So I'm no detective, right? But I would assume if you are on a scene where someone has obviously passed away, you would look for evidence that could either link to or rule out murder. Like the bloody sheet and the condom full of semen had not been taken from Lauren's apartment until weeks after her death. And like I understand them taking her phone and her passport into evidence, but the $13,000 kind of rubs me the wrong way because clearly there is so many other things they could have taken in for evidence initially, yet they took the cash for what? Secondly, the whole idea of Matthew not being taken in for questioning or arrested at all because he seemed like a nice guy, is really rubbing me the wrong way because we all know if he was a person of color, things would literally go so differently in this investigation. And even with Matthew seeming like a nice guy, I find it so shady that they didn't at least take him in for questioning just to get an understanding of what happened that night and to even just clear Matthew's name, because at the end of the day, Matthew was with her that entire night. It's not like he just came in the morning and found her unresponsive. Like, he was with her from when she was alive to when she was dead. Thirdly, just the way the investigators were behaving and their attitudes towards the case was so unprofessional. Like with the first investigator himself, he was so unprofessional, so rude, and so passive towards Lauren's family. And if you watch some of the interviews with her family, you would get a much better understanding of this. But like even with the second investigator, when he showed up to the scene and he told the family that the first investigator had messed up and didn't know what he was doing and all of that, like I found that so unprofessional because first of all, the family is still mourning, like that death was still very much fresh. And secondly, isn't it like a rule in certain professions where you're not supposed to take like full responsibility or blame for specific things because it can lead to so many lawsuits? Like I feel like him saying that the other investigator didn't know what he was doing and basically messed up the case is basically literally just a lawsuit right there. But it's also like, why would you even say that to a family that is still searching for answers and grieving? But like, I don't know, something about this entire investigation is just so off to me, and it literally makes me question who this Matthew character really was and what connections he really had, because something just isn't adding up here. But one more thing I wanted to touch base on that I found so shady is the fact that Matthew never reached out to Lauren's family, because I would assume if you're innocent and you were the last to see someone alive and literally spend the night with them until they passed, you would reach out to the family at least to give your condolences, which he never did. Plus the whole fact that there was a condom full of semen when he literally said that he never had sex with her. I don't know, something is just so off with his entire story. As for any updates, the only update I really have right now is that the two detectives, Kevin Cronin and Angel Lanos, has been put on immediate leave amid investigation into their actions. But yeah, I don't know guys, this entire case made me so frustrated just knowing how it was handled and the whole investigation process. But I really hope that Lauren's family finds the answers that they deserve, and I hope that Lauren gets the justice that she deserves. But yeah, that concludes today's video. Let me know what you guys think about this case and the whole investigation, and let me know if there's any other cases you guys would like for me to cover. I'll talk to you guys in my next video, and like always, keep shining.